There's a lie we tell ourselves about change, that it has to be dramatic, revolutionary, that you wake up one morning and become a completely different person. But real change doesn't work that way. Real change is quiet, almost invisible. It's the decision to be 1% better today than you were yesterday, and then doing it again tomorrow, and the day after that. This is the story of a man who was broken, and how the smallest improvement saved his life. His name was Kevin. 36 years old, overweight, depressed, stuck in a job he hated, and a life that felt like it was happening to him instead of being lived by him. He woke up every morning with a heaviness in his chest, an endless loop of mediocrity and quiet despair. Kevin had tried to change before. He'd joined gyms with ambitious plans, lose 50 pounds in 3 months. He'd start strong, work out every day for a week, then his body would hurt, his motivation would fade, and he'd quit. He'd tried new diets, extreme ones, all or nothing, and every time, nothing won. He'd tried to overhaul his entire life at once, and every time, the weight of change crushed him, so he'd retreat back to what was comfortable, what was familiar. One morning, Kevin looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back, not because he looked different, but because he looked defeated. And in that moment, something shifted. Not a dramatic revelation, just a quiet thought. What if I just tried to be a little bit better? Kevin didn't know where the thought came from, but it felt true, manageable, possible. He would improve by 1%. Day 1, Kevin didn't go to the gym. He did 5 push-ups, that's it. His arms shook, but he did 5. The next day, he did 5 again, and drank 1 glass of water before his morning coffee. 2 tiny improvements. Day 3, he added a 5-minute walk. Day 4, he swapped his usual donut for a banana. Small, simple, sustainable. Kevin wasn't trying to be perfect. He was trying to be slightly better. And slightly better doesn't trigger resistance. It doesn't overwhelm you. Weeks passed. Kevin's 1% improvements compounded. 5 push-ups became 10, then 15. The 5-minute walk became 10 minutes. 1 healthy meal became 2. He wasn't working out for hours. He was just consistently choosing the slightly better option. Every single day. 3 months in, Kevin stepped on a scale. He'd lost 12 pounds. Not the dramatic 50 he used to dream about, but 12 real pounds, lost through tiny sustainable changes instead of unsustainable extremes. And something else changed, something deeper. Kevin started to believe in himself again, because every small improvement was proof. Proof that he could keep promises to himself. Proof that change was possible. Proof that he wasn't broken. He applied the 1% rule to other areas of his life. At work, he started arriving 5 minutes early, just 5. Started volunteering for 1 small task nobody else wanted. Started learning 1 new skill for 10 minutes a day. Nothing dramatic, but consistent. 6 months in, his boss noticed. Not because Kevin had transformed overnight, but because Kevin had been showing up, consistently, reliably, slightly better every day. When a promotion opened, they thought of Kevin. The guy who kept getting better. The guy you could count on. Kevin's relationships improved. He started calling his mother once a week. Just once. Started texting his friends instead of waiting for them. Started being 1% more present in conversations. Listening instead of waiting to talk. Small shifts. But they added up. People noticed. They started calling him back. Making plans. Including him. A year after that first morning, Kevin had lost 43 pounds, had been promoted, had rebuilt friendships, had energy he forgot he could have. And people asked him the same question. How did you do it? What's your secret? Kevin always smiled, because there was no secret, no magic pill, no dramatic moment. Just math, the math of 1%. If you improve by 1% every day for a year, you don't end up 1% better. You end up 37 times better, because improvement compounds, like interest in a bank account. Small deposits made consistently create wealth you can't imagine when you start. But the real gift wasn't the weight loss or the promotion. It was the shift in identity. Kevin stopped being someone who failed at change and became someone who improved daily. That identity changed everything, because when you see yourself as someone who gets better, you make different choices. Not out of willpower, out of alignment. You're just being who you are. Kevin learned that most people fail at change because they aim too high. They try to become perfect, to make massive leaps, and when they inevitably fall short, they quit. But if you aim for 1%, you can't fail, because 1% is always achievable, always within reach. And when you stack enough 1%s together, you become unrecognizable. He learned that transformation isn't about the big moments. It's about the tiny decisions nobody sees. The choice to do 5 push-ups when you could do 0, to walk for 5 minutes when you could sit, to eat 1 vegetable when you could eat none. Those invisible choices compound into visible results. Kevin still uses the 1% rule, years later, still finding small ways to improve, not because he's broken, but because growth never stops, because there's always room to be slightly better, slightly kinder, slightly stronger, slightly more present, and that's not a burden, it's a gift. The gift of knowing that you're not stuck, that every day is a chance to move forward, even if it's just one small step. So if you're stuck, if you're overwhelmed by how far you have to go, if you've tried to change and failed so many times, you've stopped believing it's possible. Stop trying to transform overnight. Start trying to improve by 1%. Just 1. Today, do 1 push-up. Read 1 page. Write 1 sentence. Make 1 healthy choice. Send 1 kind message. Whatever it is, make it so small you can't fail, and then do it again tomorrow, and the day after that. Don't worry about the finish line. Don't worry about how long it will take. Just focus on being 1% better than yesterday, because 1% seems like nothing. But nothing becomes something when you refuse to stop. When you stack small improvements day after day, and one day, you'll look back and barely recognize the person you used to be. Not because you had 1 big breakthrough, but because you had 1,000 tiny ones, and they added up to everything. That's the rule of 1%. It's not flashy, it's not dramatic, but it works. Every single time. For every single person willing to start small and stay consistent. So start today. 1% better. That's all. Just 1%. And watch what happens when small becomes unstoppable.